Garchomp, the Lunge's God. Stopping Garchomp is a straightforward task. Stop it from flying at you from across the screen and you'll be okay. The biggest attack you'll need to look out for is Dig. This move used to be trash because you could scoop it out of the ground no problem, even with projectiles. But now it has a lot of projectile invincibility, not only while under the ground but while coming out of the ground too. And it can end Dig normally, which is unsafe. But if you're looking for that, it can end in a hop or any jumping attack like Earthquake. So let's get this out of the way.
I had to redo this section of the guide 5 times because I thought I had an answer to Dig. Turned out Rotom isn't consistent. All these other strategies I have not consistent because Dig now it just goes through all these different projectiles. But I found the answer now. Mimikyu. You see Dig, Mimikyu it. Mimikyu will stop it. Eat that.
Now, there are other character-specific ways to stop Dig, but that is the real way. In Field Phase, it has a couple low-risk moves, so let's get those out of the way. Jumping Y can knock down. It is unsafe from close-up, but it wall spot, so be aware when jumping with your back to the wall. Side Y loses tracking if you're stepping, but when charged, it can lead to Garchomp getting close to you with frame advantage. From an air reset, make sure that you counterattack charged jumping Y, which is very positive on block, but this does not pierce. CADC to the side to avoid getting hit by jump Y afterwards. Charge back Y has to be respected as a meaty, or if you did eat the charged jumping Y, this pierces and is +8 on block. Neutral Y is pretty standard, but it leads into Dragon Claw. This is a 19 frame startup in dual phase, but 23 in dual. Safe on block. This is easier to whiff punish in field phase because it cannot be followed up with running stance, but more on that in dual phase. Jumping X is grab punishable on block, but when done from Dig, at minimum height, it is safe at about -8. Garchomp's best move in field phase is forward Y, which is even safe against all counterattacks when done meaty. -8 on block, great range, and great height. But it can be whiff punished just by walking backwards. Homing attack is unique. It is 17 frame startup, tied for the fastest, but the first hit of homing is unsafe, meaning Garchomp is always going to follow up with the second hit. You have to guess versus this just like any other homing, and ideally you're not that close to it with frame disadvantage. A panic button Garchomp love is back A, Stone Edge. This has counter armor starting frame 5. If the opponent charges all the way and you did a poke with fast recovery, you're still in danger because the attacking portion of this move pierces and brings your shield down to almost breaking no matter what character you have. And with one of the latest updates, this move has invincibility on counter activation. It is awkward to whiff punish this because it can be held to lengthen the duration of the armor. However, it can be grabbed on whiff too. The main thing to focus on is keeping the gaps in your pressure smaller than 5 frames, or make sure your pressure leads into a counter pierce. Dual phase is more lunges, surprise surprise. Treat Dig as you would before. Some characters have better time anti-airing its approaches out of the ground,
But still, Mimikyu is the king around these parts.
Dragon Claw is much more annoying because it can be cancelled into running stance. You have to be super quick on your whiff punishes to stop this. Neutral is tougher against Garchomp now because you have to guess between Dig and Dragon Claw. If you wait for Dig, Dragon Claw goes uncontested and it can start mixing you up. But if you throw out projectiles preemptively to stop Dragon Claw, you can get hit by Dig. So this might sound like strange advice, but I condone rushing Garchomp down. It is way easier to space it out in field phase because you have more room to move. But in dual phase, if you ever get a knockdown or air reset, get right in that grill. Stone Edge is the only move up close that is a threat, as Garchomp's 11 frame moves are very low damaging. In running stance, Garchomp can opt for the overhead, running X, which is +4 but does not pierce. But it can also do Stone Edge, jump, Sand Tomb, so you only get a guaranteed punish against running stance and neutral if you have a burst attack on deck, because it cannot block immediately from this stance. Release X from the ground is a frame 1 anti-air and is decent at auto-correcting, so don't jump at Garchomp too much. If this whiffs, which happens more than you might think due to execution errors, this is -28 on block, and the aerial version is even worse. But the aerial release X done low to the ground is +4, so you have to hold that. Do be aware of jumping X. It's safe on block and it ground bounces if you jump. Since Earthquake is considered a low, you might get baited into jumping in anticipation of it, but if you do, then you'll eat a jump X. With enough matchup experience, you can train yourself to react to Earthquake specifically and either low stance with armor or jump over it. You can just use a counterattack armor as well. Jumping Y comes down faster than both of those and requires a fast anti-air. And I'll say this once more, you don't want to deal with all these flies, Rotom. Note the difference between 4x and 5x. 4x only does 1 hit and is safe on block, -4. 19 frame startup. 3 hits is 5x, that's -16 on block. Very unsafe. 8A is used by a lot of lower level Garchomp. CADC as soon as you see this go up. If it cancels, just dash out. But if they commit, it is a 39 frame startup, so you'll have a lot of time to react and punish. In fact, very meaty grabs can even be safe from this. Sand command grab. The best way to deal with this, as always, is to not be in the range of it at frame disadvantage. Mid-screen, it is not that big of a deal, but in or near the corner, this can kill you in 2 or 3 sequences. Garchomp has a unique burst attack. It has red armor, and on block, the last hit shield breaks.
It breaks your shield, however, it is -16 on block, and it looks like it's -16 in both field and dual phase. However, you have to be in your own corner generally to punish it, and also remember that most of your moves that you would be using to punish from that far distance that are lights, like a 2Y, aren't going to work on Garchomp because it is in burst and it has light armor.
The entire cast, however, can backdash away from the final hit. You have to extend its state and then backdash as late as possible to make sure you don't actually eat the last hit. Some characters can use invincibility to go right through this last hit. This was the last character guide that I scripted, so no next caller on this one. Thanks for buying Pokkén Basics Plus on the real. F it. Next caller.